All right, hello and welcome to another episode of Spitfire. My name is Bryce. Joining me here, of course, in the background producing and helping me host this is Tunn, but more importantly, our guest for today. First of
Sure.
all, I'm going to go with Attach. Attach, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm doing well, man. I woke up a couple minutes ago, hopped in the shower, but now I'm here, feeling
Looking
good.
fresh. You already look fresh. Look better than I do.
No. I'm ready to start off the day, though. Got a good talking about Call of Duty. They transitioning to playing all day, so can't get enough of it.
Love it. Beautiful. And of course, Chance joining us again. Thank you very much. How are you today, my friend?
I'm fine, man. Same old, just waiting for Vegas, and I'll be happy.
So are we all. But let's get into today's topics. Of course, the big topic this week, the CWL V1 rule set has been released. Some surprises, some things not so surprising, but an awful lot to talk about. All right, let's kick it off with something we were talking about before we went live, the map pool. It is the biggest map pool I think I've ever seen in the Call of Duty. I may be wrong, at least in the CWL version of it. Attach, you were saying just a minute ago, it is a lot of maps for you to scrim. How are you and the rest of the pros finding it?
I mean, it's a lot of maps because they added Hacienda, and I only believe there for the hard points there's going to be 1 to 2 maps taken out, so we're either going to have like 5 or 6 maps this season. So right now we got to scrim all of them, even the ones we could potentially take out because we don't know yet. So we got to scrim all of them, and all that takes a while. And then the control, I think there's 6 maps.
Yeah.
Somewhere along those lines. So scrims take a lot of time. Right now, probably take like anywhere from like 4 to 5 hours, just like to finish a whole scrim sesh with all the time torch and you know how scrims go. But it's gonna be good when we get down to like a base set of maps and we just know because then we can just like practice. Because right now it feels like we're practicing we're wasting a couple hours of our lives every day practicing a map that we won't be playing. But you gotta do what you gotta do.
Do you have a big issue with the amount of maps they've added in to begin with, or are you looking forward to maybe a deeper map pool than we had last year?
No, I definitely like that there's more maps. Usually when there's not as many, like last year, you saw the same map over and over. And like, I don't mind it for playing it isn't bad, especially if your team's good at a map. But like London Docks S&D, like I can play London Docks S&D all day. But like when you're a fan or like a spectator and you're just watching the same map over and over and over, it has to get like frustrating and tiring that you just see the same map. And then I think it's a lot better that there's more maps for sure.
Yeah, I think the best thing about a deep map pool for me is it is going to force teams to adapt. A lot of it, I think, that we spoke a lot last Spitfire about vetoes and such and how influential they could really be in a deeper map pool, forcing teams to really think about exactly what they want to ban, they want to veto. I know it's way too early for that right now, Attach, but are you comfortable with having this big of a map pool with vetoes and such, or would you like the veto changed a little bit, maybe an extra ban or something per team?
Personally, I think I like it more that there's less vetoes just because it forces teams to be good at all, like majority of the maps. Not they can just be good at like 2 maps and then they just veto all the other bad maps and have those 2 good maps. I like how it should just like a team shouldn't be able to do that. Like they shouldn't only make it so they play that one particular map throughout the whole season. It should be you have to be good at like a majority of them. And if you're not, well, you're gonna get beat and not do as well. So I think just being an overall good team on multiple or on majority of the maps is super important.
Fair enough.
Competitive, like it just helps. I don't know. I just feel like it makes everything go smoother. The gameplay looks good. People are refreshed to see new maps here and there. So, I just think you should be good at more than less.
Yeah, I mean, the entire reason for vetoes in the first place was to bring more consistency to how series played out. So yeah, I think a deep map pool helps with that as well. Chance, we haven't had a chance to speak to you yet. No pun intended. Let's talk about the maps you've come seen rolling in here. What were your first impressions on seeing the CWL V1 rule set and map set?
I think the first thing that kind of hit me was like, I love that all these like old school Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2 maps are back. And now that I've like played them enough, it's like, damn, like, 5v5 can get a little bit rough on occasion, but I don't know. I think I'm just kind of parrot what Attach said for the most part of the more maps, the better to a certain extent, especially if there's going to be vetoes, just because, where 2 was everyone has the same vetoes. You play the exact same maps. It gets stale. If you add an extra 4 or 5 maps on top of that, it makes it impossible for that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I think I'm kind of hoping to see how it plays out with the season going. The other issue with the map set that somebody's brought up is people were kind of looking forward to seeing whether or not DLC would be in this year. Now, I don't know whether it's more or less likely with a deeper map set, but obviously, depending on how deep the map set stays, adding more DLC maps or changing it around could have big ramifications for the teams in the rest of the year. Attach, obviously, you're going to be the one kind of under the gun for this. This influences you more than anybody else. How do you feel about that?
About the what?
About potential of DLC in the future maps altering the map pool.
Yeah, I like it. It's just like it adds more maps. Like I don't know, especially if they're good. Like when they had some questionable maps, like on AW, they added what was that map called with the snow, where like they had
Drift.
snowstorm drift. Yeah, I mean that map was all right. I wouldn't say it's like a good map, but when they can like get a good map and like just make a good one for everyone that people can enjoy for the most part, I think it's really good. There's no reason not to add it, in my opinion. I think it just because, like I said, people watch the same map for 3 to 6 months. They want to see something new. It's like, oh, we added this map. Let's see who's the best team in it. Let's see how the map plays out. Is it good? Is it bad? Like, it just adds a lot. I think it's important to add new maps throughout the game.
And I think one of the things as well is that they've said that there's going to be throwback maps in each of the packs. So, I mean, you would think with you...
We're getting a raid.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, you've seen that it's already in Blackout. So, I mean, they don't really have to do much, do they? It's literally just slap the map in a pack and that's it. It's done. So, you would like to think that... well, okay, right. I know it's not just that easy.
That's not how game development works. I'm sorry I have to call you on it.
Well, no, I know.
If a game developer watched this now, he would slap you in the face.
I know it's not that easy, but the game mode... The map is already there, essentially, surely.
Right, so from what I understand, and I'm not a game developer, like you still have to rebuild the entire map for the engine and the way it fits in and the mechanics and everything else clips in. It's not a copy and paste file. Now, the only bit you get to kind of cut down a little bit is the design of the map. But from what I understand is, like, a lot of the time you see the buildings kind of change a little bit. There's subtle tweaks all over the map anyway. And all the stuff that has to be imported and checked because you're not building it from scratch actually adds a significant amount of problems. So when you have an old school map come in, it's probably just about the same amount of time to bring that map in as a new map just because of the complications it brings in.
But it's already Blackout.
Yeah, but still, you still have to port that entire thing out. So maybe it's...
Chance knows what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, Bryce is right, though. You still have to design it to where, like, you have to operate around, like, specialists. Like, you still have to design a map and make sure that you can put Torque's barricade and razor wire everywhere, that it interacts with fire and everything else that the game brings, which would take time. I don't know if it... Like, the question not for us, it definitely takes a long time. Who knows if that means a month or 10? I have no idea.
Yeah. I can kind of see that coming through. All right, let's talk about the rule set. First of all, we were waiting for it for a little while, but now it's come out. What maybe first surprised you when you saw the map? So what were your first initial thoughts? Attach, I imagine your first thought was, thank God it's here. But what second thought after that?
Probably the most surprising one was Summit Hardpoint and then Jungle Control. For Summit Hardpoint, I think that map's just like super hectic. And like when we were first playing, I think the spawns are a little messed up. I don't know if I think they mentioned they did like a spawn change in the update yesterday, but I swear to God the spawns have like got tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, there was.
Well, funny enough, I just saw Rate tweet out about the exact thing, saying spawns are much better.
I think they definitely got tweaked a little bit yesterday. Like they didn't mention it, but they felt different from the first day because the first few days felt like so hectic and chaotic. Maybe it's because we didn't know the game as well, but I think they definitely did something a little bit to them. So Summit was just kind of crazy. Well, we played it yesterday. It actually wasn't as bad as before. So that map was just because it's like super small and it was 5 people. That's a lot of people too. So people running on the map, it gets pretty hectic over there. So I was surprised to see that. And then Control Jungle. But I think there could be a lot of maps for Control. Control is like a super fun game mode. So it's just it's like a mixture of TDM meets Search and Destroy with like hardpoint. It's like Demolition, but with hardpoint hills.
Yeah. Well, let's move straight on to Control then. Actually, I'm going to ignore the rest of the first thoughts because Control is a very interesting subject right now on Twitter and Reddit. Okay, a lot of people are talking about this. It's a brand new game mode for the CWL and Call of Duty. There have been hits and misses with them before. You know, I think I still believe Blitz was a bit of a miss. I think Uplink was a massive hit, depending on the game. Control coming in. Now, I will play devil's advocate some places here as we discuss this for it. Some people really like the game mode. Some people think it's glorified TDM, which I don't think is a bad thing, considering it helps connect with the kind of the mainstream player base of Call of Duty. Attach, like you said, you've been playing it, you've been kind of getting used to it. How has the adjustment been going on this first rule set?
Well, everyone's still like no one knows how to play control the correct way yet. Everyone's still kind of learning just because first time everyone's ever played this game mode seriously and like put time into it. So I personally like that there's a new game mode in the game. I'm kind of glad like CTF and uplink is like done for now, and it's like just refreshing. But playing it is just kind of trying to figure out strategy. Like, should I go spawn kill? Should we all hop this hill, or should we go like 4 here, 1 here to try and get some kills and like pick players off, make them weak? I don't know. Like, I really don't know much about it yet. Like, I try to like my team and myself like try to like play it the best way, get the most consistent way down. But like I said, we're still learning. It's only 3 days in, so it's hard to like perfect a game in 3 days. So it's kind of learning process.
Yeah, control could be one of the X factors going into Vegas as well. Bearing in mind, a team might just be able to play that a completely different way you haven't experienced yet, and can throw you off when they go into the tournament.
It's gonna happen. There's going to be a team that's nasty at control. I like some game modes, like TR was at AW. They were terrible at hardpoint. They were godlike at uplink and really good at S&D. So I mean, and they did pretty well.
Yeah,
but there's going to be a team that finds out how to play it, and then whoever finds out how to play it is going to be definitely get a few free dubs in their matches.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Chance, what about you? Control now coming in. We spoke a little bit about it last week, but we didn't really want to commit too much on the subject, not knowing exactly what was happening with it. It's here, it's in, it's ready for the CWL for 2019. What are your thoughts on Control, Chance?
I think it's similar to what it was last year. I think it's a game mode that like certain tweaks probably need to be made. Like, you know, if you get a 5 down, calling a Hellstorm, you get another instant 5 down, and then all of a sudden the team is down with like 15, 20% of their lives just because of a streak. So be adjusted, but ultimately it's a game mode that I think it's better than CTF in that it creates great moments. Like, I think something that was getting tweeted yesterday was I think it was Simp was left in like a 1v7 and like nearly pulled off the clutch. And
that's amazing.
I think you'll have situations that every couple games where some player or some team does something completely wild that we've never seen before, and it's going to be exciting as hell. And that's what I think Control is going to bring. It's going to be at times, and it's going to be kind of fun to watch, and then there's going to be moments where it's just amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we kind of said a little bit last week about the tempo of this game and how it kind of lends itself to great games all the way through. If you think about CTF, like if you made a string of kills on CTF, you knew most of the time you would have to make at least 1 or 2 more strings of kills to even start thinking about pulling a flag. So like 3 or 4 down didn't mean that much in some aspects. With Control, it does look like it's going to be more impactful. It is going to have those slower and faster movements just naturally as the game ebbs and flows around the 2 points. I'm looking forward to seeing it played at the pro level when it comes to a big tournament. I think it is a game mode with a ton of potential. Of course, with a ton of potential, it does come that risk you were talking about, Charles. I think that's very interesting, the impact of score streaks in this game mode. As well as some specialists. I think it could really dictate whether or not this becomes a fan favorite. Attach, have you had much experience with that? You seem to be agreeing with Chance at points.
On the what? Sorry.
About the thing you said about the score streaks and the Hellstorm and the 5 down going.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I feel like that's not how a game mode should be. Like, obviously, you get score streaks to help you out, but not that much. Like, on jungle, you get 5 down. There's nowhere to run off spawn. There's a Hellstorm or a Lightning Strike even, and that's anywhere from, like, 3 to 5 kills. So, it's just kind of like, there's nothing you can do about that. Obviously, like, you should benefit from having streaks, but I don't think it should be, like, that much of an impact to where if they're 5 on a hill, you can streak them, they're done. But it shouldn't be able to like happen off spawn. You should have a little spawn protection for at least a couple seconds so you can get into like a building or something from a streak.
One other question I had about Control right now is there was talk about the spawns on Control because they seem to be more fixed than some of the other game modes. Have you seen a lot of kind of the spawn trapping or kind of people forcing it down? Has there been any issues with that in the pro scrim so far?
No, but there hasn't been like any like real big issues. I mean, you could like run around because you're not gonna keep spawning in one spot if someone's like staring at it.
Yeah.
You're gonna spawn like close, but like in a little different of areas. So you have to like kind of maneuver around your spawn trapping and stuff. It's not just like you pre-aim and they're all stuck right there in that little circle.
Yeah.
That's how it was in the beta, or yeah, when we played it in Ohio, that's how it was. You only spawned in one place. So literally, when you get set up, and they all just spawn in front of you, and they just be like, they just be screwed because they're spawning in front of you, can't do anything. But now they change it around a little bit. So when you're getting spawn trapped, you move around the map so you can actually have a chance to get out of your spawn and get some kills.
Yeah, I mean that's a great kind of change that's coming, a necessary change as well. Tunn, you've been a bit quiet, mainly because I haven't been able to kind of throw it to you yet.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on control?
Yeah, you haven't shut up, mate. That's why I'm just sitting here. Just
Whoa, I just wanted to talk to more interesting people. I couldn't help it.
No, I can't blame you. I think there's a couple of issues around it, and one of the main ones for me is the 5th round. There's nothing to determine who that goes to apart from which side you pick, and then I think Attach can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it just goes back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's whoever has like the first defense just gets the last.
Gets that again.
So you get defense twice, which is like pretty.
Yeah, and does defense seem easier at the moment?
Depends on the map, but I would say for the most part, defense is better on most maps.
Okay, so I think then it comes to that point where you're randomly getting selected who gets the 5th and like decider if it goes 2-2. So that needs to change. There needs to be something specific to allow you to like actually. So say somebody who puts down the most damage or something gets it. An idea that was bounced around was maybe do a sort of like in CTF where somebody had to capture a flag in the quickest time, maybe have to do the control round, and then whoever captures them both in the quickest time then gets that round win, and then you've got to beat it or something like that. There's a couple of different ways they can do it. Another one of my issues potentially was if somebody starts on defense or starts on the side which is the easier side, they're going to be able to build streaks, and then if you've got those streaks going into the next couple of rounds, yes, okay, you have earned them, but you've earned them on the so-called easier side, then that's going to detriment the other team's ability to actually have a fair fight in the next round. So something that was suggested was clearing score streaks after every round. I don't know.
See, I saw that argument. I saw that argument on Twitter, and somebody said, "Oh, but it's the same as S&D," and it isn't. S&D has so many more rounds that it's less impactful because you win one round, it's fine. But Control has so few rounds that is a massive game changer. The other changes I think I saw, they were talking about like an overtime mode where a single point in the middle or something. And the other change someone suggested, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Merc, about a continuous. You know, have the 3 sections in Control. Like instead of the 3 sections, a continuous circle that just stops wherever it gets contested, or you get them to take it off here, just to make it a little bit easier for the attacking team to just capture and kind of bleed in and not worry too much about throwing lives away. But I think those are all interesting changes.
Yeah, there's a few things that do potentially have to change. As I said, spawn protection is a massive one that does need to happen. But yeah, I think I'm sort of on the same page as you guys, is that it has so much potential to be a fantastic game mode, but there's a couple of changes need to come here and there for it to be that. I just hope that we see them before Vegas. I mean, I know the crucial ones will come in. I can't imagine they're going to put they're not going to put a score streak protection off spawn. Surely they'll put that in soon, you would imagine. But the other things like deciding the final round does need to be sorted fairly quickly, I think, because then it's just a case of picking sides, and then you've got a pretty much guaranteed win on your hands. If you play out the game how you should. So a couple of issues, but I think for the most part everyone seems fairly happy with it.
Yeah, well, they're constantly adjusting already, right? We've already had a patch come in. We've already had a change to the rule set with Hacienda dropping through. So it seems like they really are quite dedicated to at least nailing this down in the month or so we have left before Vegas. And like I said, Vegas is a big event this year. It's the biggest opening event just simply because what it means for the rest of the year. All right, let's kind of move on then. Let's talk about specialists. I think one of the biggest shocks. They just removed another one, didn't they? There was just another one that just got taken out.
Really?
I'm sure I read about it. I can't be 100% sure. I think it was S&D. They did something, and I want to say talk. I'll have to quickly look on Twitter to see where it was. I'm sure I saw something about S&D. One of these specialists has been removed for that game specifically because it's a little bit overpowered. But only one kind of removed so far, and Ajax is still in. I know a lot of people weren't happy with that. He's already been patched once. Is he still a problem? That is the question. Attached. What do you think?
I don't even know the actual update that they did to him, to be honest.
From what I understand, basics were he takes more explosive damage from the front, and I think something to do with his shield being slightly disrupted by something else. I'd have to look up that patch as well. But yeah, they've nerfed him a little bit, but maybe not as much as some people would have liked.
Yeah, no, Ajax, the reason I just find it like it's not very competitive because you gotta have like a shield blocking you and you can also shoot at the same time, which is kind of you can't really do anything. If the team has a trophy down on them, there's nothing you can do. You can just sit in a corner, crouch, shoot behind it, and then he's dealing with 3 people, another team that just comes and cleans them up. So, and there's not really any ways to counter him besides the explosive. But like I said, there's trophies everywhere on the map at all times, so it's not very helpful to what's it called? Even like try to kill the Ajax with a nade. Because if he's like a smart player, he's going to be around his teammates using it. It's not like he's going to be by himself on the map where you just throw nades at him and get him. He's going to be using a lot more strategically.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. Like people that don't like the fact that it's not easy to counter. Like there is no clear and fast way for a pro player to deal with it. Hell, it's not even easy for like 2 pro players to deal with it in teamwork because of his ability to shoot back. If it was just a shield and you could maybe work around it, it'd be a distraction, that sort of stuff. But being able to kind of kill you and not have much of a reply is obviously upsetting a few people. But they've already patched him once. I'm quite interested to see how that adjusts now going into pro play and whether or not it's easier. I've also got confirmation yet. Talk has been removed from S&D now.
Was that the barricaded guy?
Yes, that is the barricade guy.
Where's that come from? Because I checked on Call of Duty Esports Twitter and there was nothing there.
I saw it earlier on Twitter, and then people in the chat are now confirming that that is correct. I saw it briefly while I was at the gym earlier. So from what I understand, it's probably looked down to that video. I don't know if you saw it, where the guy planted the bomb, put his razor wire over the bomb, and then went away and put his guardian there. Nothing to do with it. Like, you could...
The reason that I think that just needs to be removed from all game modes is because you can like block off lanes, and like there's nothing you can do about it. Like you have to like shoot at it for a couple like 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, barricade a little bit longer than the barbed wire, but you just shouldn't be able to block out like 2 whole lanes on the map. Like one player doing that, like that's kind of crazy. And then the fact that the barricade like stuns you and will kill you in like 4 ticks is pretty insane as well. So I just feel like it doesn't really belong in competitive just because it can block off so many lanes. And on these maps, there's so many doorways, or there's just like a few doorways to a few lanes. So you block off 2 doorways, you only have to look 2 other places, and you're fine. And I just feel like it doesn't really have a place in competitive. But actually, there's been like a group of pro players that like got together and like wrote up a whole specific report on each and everything that are on issues that like the issues that the pros have with different equipment specialists, whatever maps in the game, and they send like a detailed report. So I mean, they're going to be reviewing that soon, I believe.
Well, that's good because usually it just spills over into Twitter bitching, and we're definitely better to have a concise.
Twitter bitching. That's the COD pros, but you know, a few of the ones that actually like took the time out of the day to help out. So it's good to see.
Yeah. Let's talk about the meta then. Specialist meta right now. I'm going to kind of have to stick with you for this attach because obviously the rest of us aren't pro players, and you are the one playing these scrims with the specialists. How's the meta going for the specialists specifically? Who's being picked? Who's the kind of the big ones so far?
I would say like the War Machine or the Battery, the Seraph with the Annihilator, the Purifier the Flamethrower guy not used as much because like the Flamethrower is good, but I really feel like it only is good on like very certain hills. So it depends on the map. And then the Vision Pulse person. What else? Vision Pulse, Annihilator. Was Crash? What's that again?
That's the medic guy.
Oh, that's the one with the medic pack, getting 200 health. Yeah, that's super important as well. What else? There's one more. War Machine, Medic, Annihilator.
Tempest?
Oh, the grapple. No, the grapple.
Oh,
the grapple.
Ruin. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ruin, because you can grapple everywhere, grab slam, get like an easy 5-piece if they're all around you. And then Tempest as well. Just because it's a Tempest. You shoot one in a doorway, they're stuck. There ain't no going to the doorway anymore. So, yeah, those are like the 5 being used mostly.
So for me already, like I think you named probably 6 or 7 there. It seems like already, like with a few exceptions which we know of, it seems like most of the players are fairly happy with the specialists coming in, and obviously a few have been taken out already, and a few maybe taken out in future, or be changed to be more manageable by pros. But just for me, I like the fact that there is probably going to be a choice that teams have to make during this year of what they want to take, because some of these specialists, you know, you can trade them out one for the other and what's more effective. Chance, what do you think of the specialists so far and the situation and how it's all been dealt with?
I don't know. I think like the politics of it, of just like the pros getting rid of certain specialists, is going to happen no matter what. They're just going to kind of decide their own way. So if they can work with Treyarch on that, that's great. The only thing specialist that I have that's kind of like an outside point is I've got nerfed. I think there might be a lot of value in running like the equipment charge over stim shot or over armored, which some players are starting to experiment with, just because of how much faster you can get the specialists. So like the crash right now outside of torque is the easiest one to earn. And I would be willing to bet that if you use the equipment charge with it, you could get the crash, the medic, the 200 health like 3 times a game, which could potentially be huge and might be worth having over that specific player, the armored or the stim shot or whatever. So I just want to know if any players are going to kind of work on a meta change for that or not.
That's a good strat. That's a real good strat. I mean, that's definitely better because that's like you get 200 health maybe 3 times a game, and that's 3 hills you get 200 health in. 3 hills is a lot. That's a lot more than half the game already. So you never know. That could be a very viable strategy. Good shit chance.
I imagine a lot of players right now have just been running stim though, right? Like it's going to be the default. Just pump stim.
Yeah, for now, I mean, I think the only player you've seen use. I think a few ARs have used armor. I in general used armor like a few times when we played them. So a few people have used armor, but I feel like it's more so been the AR players, which I think it makes more sense to them because when you're a sub player, you're probably getting tagged up a little bit more. Whereas an AR, you're like usually in the back doing some picking, doing some shooting, and you aren't really like exposed to the battle as much as a sub player is because you're always like running on the map, baiting and switching. So you have to use stim shot if you're going to be aggressive and playing that style.
Might also be more impactful in S&D armor.
Yeah, definitely.
One life around, you're gonna first gunfight you may win or lose could be much more significant.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to touch on the whole equipment charges in S&D because obviously you don't get it every single round, and that was something that's been pointed out. I think a change in that direction so you do get your equipment every single round would be good because of how I mean there's rounds in S&D. I don't know how much S&D you've scrimmed, but I'm sure you've played in tournaments and stuff like that, but at the same time there's obviously the point of where it takes a time to load your equipment, so even like stuns and everything like that, so you don't have it every single round. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, to be honest, I've only played S&D on like certain websites, and they don't have specialists. Like you don't use specialists. So I don't think anyone's actually played real search and destroy yet. So the 2K will be like the big test for everyone.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people think of it because I think it was I forgot who was the one that mentioned it the first time, but it's one of those things where teams can be like sort of sitting back, and the longer you play out, then you obviously your equipment loads up fast.
Yeah.
Fast, or the more amount of time your equipment loads up. So then there's teams going to be sitting back waiting for equipment to load up, and then it's hard to track as to when they've got stuns or when they've got grenades or when their equipment's available, that sort of thing. So that's why one of the main arguments was to have it every single round. And I think there's a setting to reset your equipment so you can have it every round of S&D, and I think that would make more sense for me personally.
Yeah, I think that just is like old school S&D, like Black Ops 2. It reminds me of because you have like a trophy, and then if they have a stun, they have a stun. If they hit you, you're screwed. You're dead. You should go turn off your monitor. But if you get a trophy down, then the stun does nothing. So it's kind of unfortunate if you were like you couldn't have a stun and trophy at the same time. So I wouldn't be against having them both the same round because I think it just would create more consistency if you would have them each round.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a lot more consistency.
A few people have been saying that's the issue with Tac Mask right now as well.
Yes.
It's just not effective enough.
No, there's like no reason to use it. Like I think it was 5 seconds you were like stunned and you couldn't do anything at all. But now it's like 3.5. I think I saw somewhere like that, which it's good if people like stun you and you're with your whole team. When you're with your whole team, you're gonna have a trophy somewhere that's gonna block it. But there's no reason to run Tac Mask because if you get stunned, someone's pushing you before 3.5 seconds and killing you. Yeah. Unless your team's there to get it out. So
I mean, it fully disables you, doesn't it? It's not just to the point where you're a little bit stunned. Like you just can't shoot or anything.
You can shoot. You can't do anything. Literally anything. You can shoot. You can actually YY so your hand isn't like that. So you YY, so you're like this, but still, it's like the hipfire is trash. You're stuck. You can't really reload, aim, do all that stuff. So when you get stunned, you might as well chalk it up.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, one of the things, like, because I have the rule set in front of me here, I was surprised by them going in as much right now for the restrictions. I thought it was a very good first restriction list, and probably one of the more involved ones that we've seen in some previous rule sets. Because a lot of the time, the first rule set comes out, it's a little bit light. We know there needs to be more things removed. This one I didn't think was too bad. They got rid of some obvious things like the operator mods. I thought the gung ho thing being taken out was very interesting because of after it figured out that your snapping speed basically reduced to nothing, which was quite great. I think it was Drifter that found that out. Like it was super fast. But no, I didn't mind it. Like when the CWL rule set came out, I was like, that's very interesting. The choices they've made. The map set was the main one, and the other one was the fact that they've already gone. Look, we're not going to mess around this time. Here's the rule set. We're going to make sure a good portion of things are already taken out. To the point being, is that a lot of the discussions going on right now on Twitter and by pros that I've seen is not about taking more stuff out. It's just about tweaking stuff. Yeah. And that's always a good basis to start about tweaking things going forward. Which leads me nicely into our next sort of subtopic of this, weapons, because the weapon conversation has been going on since the game started, and it used to all be about the ICR and that grip too. It's, from what I understand, the meta's already changed once. It's now looking like a lot of Maddoxes, maybe an ICR, and the Solg. Is that correct, Attach, or am I missing the boat here?
No, I think that's what it is. It's like maybe it's one, maybe two Sogs, maybe two ICRs, depending on what the map is. Usually one, and then like three Maddoxes, because the Maddox is like a hybrid between like sub and AR, so it's really good. Nah, not that I felt. Like, I feel like everyone uses the same gun in scrims. I think people might need to try the MX9 just because they increase the damage. So maybe someone will try that soon. But for the most part, it was the same. Like same weapons were used.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. I mean the goal for any weapon balancing thing is obviously you want a decent breadth. You're never going to get all weapons in. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But a couple of ARs and a couple of SMGs for me, and maybe a sniper on some S&D maps. That's basically, that's the goal. Like, that you're always going to have specialist SMGs like up close or further away. Mobility is very important for them, and the ARs. It's another one where you have the ICR, which is already taking its place as kind of the slower AR, posting up because no stock, and the Maddox, like I said, being a hybrid reminds me of things like the HVK, like from Black Ops 3. Like it's more aggressive for it. If that meta stays, I'm pretty happy with it. I don't see too much issues with it. Well, like I said, we're never going to get all the guns. Chance, what do you think about the meta and the way it's shaping out?
I think at the moment it's going to be a little bit different for S&D than what it is for Respawn. Yeah. Like I think you switch over to S&D, the Auger is going to be a little bit more viable. You're obviously going to have the sniper that's going to come into play every now and again. Guard, I'm happy with the meta, but I think at the moment, like you got 5 players on the map, you don't really want ever 3 of the same guns to be used. Like you're going to have 6 Maddoxes in the kill feed a lot, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on that even being like the best strategy for pro players. I'm not entirely sure yet just because of how early it is. In scrims, I've seen maps where people are pulling out 3 Sogs looking for them, or they're pulling out 3 ICRs depending on what hill it is. So yeah, where it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I mean, if we've already seen however many tweaks to the game so far and we're only a couple weeks into it, by the time Vegas comes around, it's probably going to be not completely different, but a little bit mixed up from what it is now. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. Well, you can see him bringing it in line, right? Attach, just a quick one about, because we were kind of circling the issue there. Snipers, been much use there in the pro scene, in the pro scrims?
No, because we only scrim Respawn, we don't scrim Search. But I think in Search and Destroy, you'll definitely see a sniper on majority of all the maps, and depending on what the team's game plan is and how the team is. So yeah, snipers are, I think, really good. So I definitely think they'll make an appearance a lot in Search and Destroy. Respawn, not so much.
I seen you smile when we mentioned the Auger. Is that actually going to be used or not?
I don't even know. Oh, was that like the single shotgun?
Yeah.
Oh, potentially. That gun's really good. So
Okay.
have to see.
I
But
wasn't
its
sure if it
operating
was...
mod was ridiculous, but the operators are gone.
Yeah.
So.
I
Operator
wasn't
mod in
sure.
the game, we have a whole other issue because those things are so good. I remember we were playing at Treyarch and someone, I forgot who it was, but he's using like the ABR with the operator mod, and it made like the ABR like fully auto, and it was just like melting everything. And then I was using, what gun did I use? I think I had like the swordfish, and it shot. It was a pentaburst, so it shot like 5 bullets out of the burst. So I think operator mods would have made the game insanely hectic for whatever gun you use it on. So I'm glad they made the decision to just take those out because I don't think that really had a place in competitive.
Yeah, it would have been a nightmare to balance that. I think that was the bigger issue. Is that, like, they would have liked to see him in, and it sort of had a balance thing where you had to use the extra slots, but at the same time, it was just difficult to kind of see a lot of those guns without the operator mods on.
Yeah, it's like not.
Yeah, something you brought up there. 2 guns have not really been mentioned a lot, pro scrim wise or otherwise, which is unusual for Call of Duty. The burst weapons, the ABR and the swordfish. A lot of the times, burst weapons are a mainstay of Call of Duty competitive. What's the issue with them at the moment? Are they just not efficient enough? They own 1 bomb. Is it because of the high health? What's kind of going on in the minds of people not using them?
Just to note that ABR did get a buff last night as well.
Oh, it did? To be honest, I don't even know why we haven't been using them. To be honest, I feel like they're really good. From when I use them in like public matches, they felt like really consistent. Hit people, they're good bullet reg. They do a lot of damage. So I don't even know. To be completely honest, I honestly forgot they were in the game. I forgot they were in the game. But
fair enough.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, spitballing just then. I think the reasons I've come to figure out is probably to do with the increased TDK and the health. Burst weapons, you usually want to see one that can 1 bomb occasionally or just be laser accurate. When you've got the ICR as efficient as it is at those kind of ranges, I think that's the issue right now. The ICR just outclasses them in every degree.
Yeah,
So,
no, I feel like the ICR is just so dominant at the moment, which I don't mind. Especially after they did look a little nerf to grip 2, I think, yesterday. What exactly was it?
Hold on, I'll bring up the patch notes because
It was like, I don't think it was something like drastic, but it was like a little bit of a nerf. I think it changed.
Wasn't it headshot damage got reduced? I'm fairly certain it was headshot damage that got taken down. I remember looking at it. Because I know they were playing with headshot damages on quite a few guns as well. So
yeah,
I
know the damages got changed on certain weapons a little bit because like Illy tweeted out a clip where he was in a 1v1 and like his SOG did 2 damage. So and there's some other like you could tell because you have 150 health and there was numbers you were used to seeing when you would like hit people with bullets. And yesterday after the update there were like new numbers that you would see. So they definitely changed some stuff on certain weapons and how much damage bullets do in different areas. Yeah. So gotta get used to that again.
You have that confirmation for us, Tunn, sorry?
It's Trout. The ICR received reduced headshot damage and a slight reduction to reload speed. Assault rifles overall, slight reduction to ADS move speed for all assault rifles and a slight reduction to ADS in transition speed. So I suppose that's them focusing on the sort of short range for the ARs. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, headshot damage for the ICR down. Not many people using the Vapor anyway, but that got a bit of a nerf as well.
The Vapor's in between the Maddox and the ICR. That's the issue with that gun.
Yeah.
The Maddox is already a hybrid. Yeah, it doesn't fit anywhere.
Yeah,
the Vapor shoots a little bit slower than the Maddox, so it's like better at like medium ranges, but it's better to have a Maddox if you're getting aggressive. And then obviously if you're medium to long range, an ICR classes it every time. So there's no real place for the Vapor yet. And could potentially someone could like sneak his way in and be like that player that wants to use it, and it may be nasty, but we'll just have to wait and see.
The ABR, just while we're here, did receive an extended maximum damage range, so just the range on it added, basically. So I mean, it might put it in contention on Search and Destroy, maybe, but I think, as I said, ICR just dominates all still, even with the nerfs to it last night. So I think realistically, we're probably not going to see it. Maybe a couple here and there, but ICR is king.
I'm more interested in seeing the MX9 and SMG updates now. I think bringing the ARs down with that nerf is 100% what they should have done. Bring them down all overall. But I think, if we can get another SMG viable, then we're in the sweet spot. 4 guns plus snipers. We're talking about a great year, and then obviously there'll be various adjustments as we go through. So I think that's exactly where it needs to be. let's talk about what we would like to see change in the rule. So, what's the biggest change, or maybe the biggest adjustment we can make? Chance, anything kind of spring to mind for you? Thinking of what you'd like to see next one.
I think one thing that's going to change is just like I wouldn't be surprised if there ends up being like an esports specific specialist like charge up rate compared to, because I think some of the better specialists right now are much easier to earn than some of like the worst specialists for competitive. So I know that's something Treyarch said they were going to keep a look at like post Vegas. And so otherwise, though, I think my biggest issue is probably the stim shot, and they changed it. So for the moment now, I'm just happy and I'm just ready to keep playing.
Okay, I missed the stim shot. What did they change?
They reduce
You
the time.
get health slower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, which means there could be a greater trade-off, like we talk about with armor and equipment charge later on. Like, is it worth running stim as much?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of interesting. There, Tan, anything for you?
No, I was just looking, and I just had a look on the CWL website, and talk has been restricted in Search and Destroy. I was just confirming it because I know people in the chat said it, but I was just double checking. But yeah, talk is out, which is good because that was one of my biggest issues. Yes, okay, it's going to be probably pretty overpowered in hard point and control, but Search and Destroy was easily the worst it was for.
Mainly overpowered on that.
Yeah.
All right, in the effort of keeping swift, because I know we're Attach has got things to do and places to be. Before I come to you, Attach, with that question, questions in the chat that we will quickly touch on. Obviously, no massive ones that we had last week about franchising. But if you have any questions, quickly throw it in. Attach, what about you then? What are you thinking V2 rule set or minor tweaks that need to be made from your perspective?
I think, I don't know. It's hard to say because I think there's a lot of little tweaks that could be done for each, like for different specialists, different weapons, and especially in weapons for the most part. I think I don't know, that Ajax character is really not sitting well with me. The Ajax character is definitely a I don't know, it's just weird, really good. So I don't know, maybe stuns.
Do you think there's any reasonable position we could ever be in where Ajax is viable enough to be in? What would have to really change with Ajax to keep him in? Because
I think
he's still in right now.
If there was something, it would be like if you shoot him, like if something happens with the shield where like shakes up, like you can't really see as well. Like you can't just be like blocking everything and spraying you down, and you just kind of have to like sit there and take it because you're just screwed. So that. Maybe stuns or maybe like the tac mask, because tac mask is actually useful because like now it's just like there's literally 0 point in running it. Just throw good trophies and hope for the best. Hopefully your trophy blocks it, because right now tac mask is a waste of a perk. That's like the only two main ones I can think of right now. I think for a V1 rule set already though, this is actually a very good rule set. Like it's very good base, and like when everyone was freaking out, I wasn't too worried just because I know there's gonna be certain stuff that. That's going to be talked about and either tweaked or potentially restricted if they can't come to an agreement. But I think for a base rule set, it was like very good, and it was in the beginning, so we still have a long time until the first event, which is actually really helpful as well. Like we don't have to like worry about something because we're leaving to an event next week. Like we actually have like a month or so, and a little bit over a month, I believe.
Yeah.
A little bit over a month.
That's the benefit, right? We have all this time for patches and metas and everything to kind of develop properly.
Yeah, because like we have an event right now, and we need to like know what we're gonna do right now. It's like we have time. We can scrim a little bit here and there. Granted, we're gonna waste some of our time playing the scrims because stuff is gonna get restricted. But at the end of the day, someone needs to do it to like make the game the most competitive it could be and bring its most potential out. So we'll see. Definitely a few tweaks, maybe some more restrictions. We're gonna have to see how the that player document set in goes.
Yeah. One thing I'd be interested to see at Ajax is just to see so his shield can be broken. I think that's instantly fixed. So what you put 2 clips into winter bricks. That's it.
Yeah, because then you can team shot it down, right?
Yeah,
you can get that stuff
exactly.
right out of there.
Because then at least it's useful, but not to the point of where it would be too overpowered. Like somebody can move in, break a hill with it, maybe get a kill or two because it's a specialist and that's what they do. But then not to the point of where he wastes his entire clip, kills a couple of people, and then he's still invulnerable. Like, if you put a couple of clips in, get rid of it, then, that's fair enough. He's still invulnerable to a point. I just think that's the easiest fix for him, to be honest with you. Just make it so the shield can actually be broken.
All right, well, we'll have to wait to see exactly what they do. Let's move on to questions in the chat then. This is one that's been bouncing around Reddit and Twitter for pretty much as long as the game has been out. Do smokes need to be added
Oh my
to
God,
this
yes.
game?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
disagreement.
right, okay.
Why not?
Just creates randomness.
Okay.
All right, I think
No.
you're one of the very few of pros who think that they shouldn't be in. It's just randomness, do you think?
Yeah, it just creates randomness. I mean, there's no real strategy, to be honest. Maybe in search and destroy.
Yeah.
But in the respawn, like when people use smokes, I remember a team in what's it called? It was like space. It was like Ghost in the IW. All they would do is just throw smokes in a hard point and just jump around and run around the hard point. Just contest. Like if they're the last one in there, they're just gonna throw a smoke, contest as long as possible to give their teammates time to get there, which is a really good strategy. But I just don't think it has its place in competitive for respawn. And then S&D, it just like blocks off lanes and stuff. Where I don't know.
Well,
I just
especially with
think
5 players. I think that the issue is with 5 players, it becomes considerably more difficult.
yeah.
I think that the positives for it,
would just be bad.
yeah, I think the positives people are talking about is it is kind of traditional in Call of Duty. It is one of those things where it is a tactic people like to use in S&D more than anything else.
Yeah.
Especially, and again, it goes both ways, right? You could talk about there being 5 players on the map, so they're not as necessary. But other people are also saying because the lane's going to be more covered by more players, it's more effective now to have them because you need to be able to break through. So I think it's an interesting conversation. Obviously, they're not even in. There's not even talk about the rule set right now because they're not actually even in the multiplayer at all.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see, like, if they added them, would they ever really be used? Would it
I'm
be
sure,
something that?
I'm sure they'd be using because I could always think of like ways to use them just because like, but I'm pretty biased because search and destroy like my teams have usually always been traditionally pretty good at search aside from my FaZe team like Black Ops 3 and IW. Jesus Christ. So I think I'm just pretty biased as well because I just want my all right, come here, you're dead, on to the next map. We won search and destroy. So I'm pretty biased. I don't like to create any randomness in the game types or
That's
that
fair.
game.
That's fair enough. Chance, your feeling on smokes? You didn't answer.
Doesn't matter to me. If they're there, that's fine because you'll get to see some cool stuff with them. But I think the game is going to be in depth strategically even without them. So I just think it's something certain teams have to work around, and it just kind of is what it is. It really doesn't matter to me.
I can see that. I can see that it's something that's definitely not at the top of the priority list at the very least. It's not something that people are really going to be worrying about too much. Let's move on then. Next question. This one's just at attach. Attach. Did you guys figure out your hardpoint problems? Comes from Alex R789.
Hardpoint problems already 3 days into the game.
It's looking rough.
What people need to realize is that like when we're playing scrims, we don't play to win scrims. Like literally, there's complexity used to get shit on all the time in line in Black Ops 2, and then they go win every event. So scrims really don't matter. It's literally to try stuff out, and especially this early on. You just want to try everything out and get everything out of the way, get everything out of your system. So like later in the game, you know how to play it exactly. Like I literally do not care as long as you're keeping the scrim close. That's fine. You don't. But as long as you're like if you're getting 250 to 25, obviously there's something wrong. But if it's a 250-50 game, you're winning some, you're losing some. It doesn't matter. It's all about trying stuff out. But that's what I think. It's hard for like the fans, supporters to like realize that like it's practice. So practice means absolutely nothing with the results of it. Practice just improve and get better over time. So I think it's kind of hard for people to realize, especially when scrims are streamed.
Yeah, I can see that, and I think realistically that's an old school thing as well. You know, you don't win scrims, especially amateur players. Always forget that you don't win scrims. You learn, and that's all they're for.
Like
that's
last year, we won all the time, and then we did bad on LAN, and then like we won an event. We were still winning. Like we were still winning scrims online. We won an event. Still winning scrims online. We did bad. Still winning scrims. Got third. Like it's just all scrims mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
it literally means nothing. The result of it means nothing. It's literally just if you know how to play the game the right way. If you know how to play the game the right way, you're going to be a consistent top team. And if you don't, you're going to be inconsistent or should be bad.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. A lot of these questions actually for you attached, so you're going to be bombarded with them. Yeah. So we've actually answered this in a previous one. So again, I think this is just for attach. Who are you looking at? Like the top 3 teams going into Vegas right now? Obviously, you have a little bit more experience with this now that you are scrimming some teams. But what are your initial thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say because at the beginning of the game, it doesn't matter who is like it literally just matters who finds out the game the quickest.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say the top 3 teams. I could just say the top 3 teams with the most Slay power on paper. But I mean, come on. We've seen God squads get put together before, and realistically, they don't really do much. So like, there's only been like a couple squads that have actually lived up to the expectations, like the Optic squad with like Karma, Formal, Cryptic, Scum. Like that is actually a God squad that got put together that actually lived up to the expectation, and they might be pretty much the only one that's done it across multiple titles as well. So God squads aren't really like too crazy. There's always going to be a weakness in every single team, no matter how good they are. In a certain game mode, always going to be a weakness. So it's hard to say the top 3 teams, but I mean, I can say the top 3 teams with like the most gun skill.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair because you can never really tell without a benchmark, right? Like there are players with great history, but you never can tell until you're under tournament environment.
You're telling me in IW, the first event at Vegas, that Rise and C9 would be in the finals? Those are the 2 teams that's in the finals. IW Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You expect the big name teams to be there, but no. Rise put the most time in. They were nasty at search. Jacinto had the Osa, and Jesus Christ, he was the god. He was a god, literally god. He was a god. And then C9 just like was good at search. They were overall good at the game types. They just know how to play the map quick, and they did really well. I mean, the rest of the season, not so much, but at the beginning, they found out how to play it, and they did well.
Fair enough. I think it's a fair answer as well. Let's keep moving on. Let's get these bad out because there are quite a lot coming in. FaZe roles. How are the roles kind of going for your team at the moment? Or is it just kind of one of these, here's a sub player, here's an AR player, we're kind of sticking like this?
No, we're definitely like, because it comes down to specialists too. Like, it's not just like roles, whether what gun you want to run, how you're going to play. Because also the gun you run has to match the specialist you're going to use. Like, we're not going to have an ICR player using the grapple. That just makes no sense. So it kind of goes like that. We're still kind of figuring things out, or trying things out, I should say, just to get to our best. Because we kind of figured out at the end of last season what like works best for us, and we started getting more consistent results. So we're just trying to like figure things out real quick, and then just be a team that can win an event throughout the whole season.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I can see that because we had that Black Ops 3, right? It wasn't so much talking about the roles. It was more kind of, here's what player this specialist is going with this player, which means they're going to be playing a certain way. Because you want like your high stakes to get the camo, because you want to see if you can get it twice and all that sort of stuff, and going forward. So I think that's going to be much more impactful, obviously, than it has been in the last 2 games. For that reason. So that's a really good answer. Some of these questions I'm going to glance over because they are kind of subjective, and we've covered little parts of them. So I'm just going to skip forward. This is an interesting one that we can all talk about very briefly. This has been a suggestion before. Should we ban armor and stim to make it less forgiving? And he has specified S&D here. But I'm going to open it up to think just overall. Whether it's necessary or not. I'm going to start with you, Charles. How do you feel about the whole armor and stim thing? We've got changed to something else.
I say keep them in. I'd say definitely keep all of them in. Don't ban any of them. Like the stim nerf, I think is definitely a good thing. I think armor, you're going to see a fair bit of it in search and destroy. A little bit less in respawn, but a couple players might try it. And then again, I think equipment charge is something that players are going to be able to look at, and it's going to be maybe not equally viable, but it's going to be able to be used. And if you have one slot that can be used depending on the situation, it's good for strategy. It's fun to watch. So I want everything in.
Okay, Tunn?
Yeah, I'm all for keeping it in. I think banning it in one specific game mode, you can't do that. That's just it creates too much confusion for a viewer. Yeah, like could you imagine a viewer sitting there like, why aren't they using stim and armor in this specific game mode? It just wouldn't work out. But I'm all for keeping it in. I think now with the stim nerf, you may see that not being ran as much. It did need a nerf. I think one of my issues with stim, it either has to do one or the other, whereas you can heal, like you get it up, you can get it quicker than just your standard heal, or it heals you quicker, and now they've already nerfed one of those things anyway. So I think they're on the right path with stim. It did need a nerf, and I think I'm pretty happy with where it's at now on a level. Well, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think that's probably gonna be the same from you, Attach, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, they're not gonna ban something. I know for a fact they're not gonna ban something that's like a base part of the game like that. They're not gonna just take it out, and especially if they were to do that, they would have to do it for all the game modes. They can't just do it for one, because that creates just way too much confusion amongst the new viewers and such. So they're just never gonna ban something for one game mode unless like they might restrict something for one game mode maybe for a little bit and then fix it and then re-put it back in. But they're never gonna like completely ban something for like one game mode. That's like such a base part. Like everyone in the game knows body armor and stim is in the game, so they can't just like take that out. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I can see that. The next question coming in. So this is one just kind of for attach, but before we get to it, there is a suggestion coming about Ajax long rectangle across the shield where people can shoot for. I think maybe that may be the Ajax nerf, something along the lines of weak spots, somewhere where you can actually hit or skill-wise you can shoot at something to take him down. That would be the only way I can see that kind of working. So I'll answer that one for them. They're asking about the FaZe roster, staying for Black Ops 4, how big a decision that was for you and the rest of your team.
No, we kind of knew after champs that we're going to be sticking together just because the whole year we're like kind of struggle with consistency. And at the end, we got 6 to Anaheim while switching like roles during the event and like trying out, well, not switching roles, but trying out like new play styles. And then we got 6 of playoffs, which isn't that good. Then we got 3rd at champs, and we had a really good chance to win it if we just clutched up one more map. So we just figured we stay together. So it wasn't really much of a decision, really.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Like I said, it was one of those. We were wondering whether we were going to see a heavy roster mania come in, and the biggest thing from roster mania was trying to figure out which teams did break and who got picked up their 5ths more than anything else.
If anything, like we just showed last season, like the resilience our team has, and that like we actually like we're not gonna just give up when something goes bad, because we could have given up a lot of times and like done bad, but we bounced back, won an event, did bad, bounced back, started placing a little bit better, then got 3rd. Like so, we showed a lot of resilience, and if we could just start from the beginning of the season at a good starting point, not an online 2K, that's really good. Because thank God it don't matter anymore. Still career ended me, but yeah. So that's why we stay together. It was a super easy decision. It was more so the decision was: are we going to 5v5? Or are we going to 4? Or are we staying 4v4? So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that's exactly pretty much what a lot of people were waiting for, the whole 5v5 versus.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was every bit as hectic for you as it was most of the teams trying to figure that out right until the last second. We'd like you to play. We just don't know whether or not you can yet. And obviously, as soon as that happened, everybody kind of snatched who they could. Last question. Some people have asked about my hat. Actually, it's Tunn who's asked about my hat. I'm wearing a hat because I didn't want to delay the stream. That's it. Enough of that. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all the questions. So, big thank you to our guests, of course, for this week. Attach, thank you so much for taking your time out and waking up and coming straight on. I believe you're streaming right after this, right?
Yeah, I'll be streaming for a little bit for sure. Yeah.
Of course, make sure you check that out.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. It was a good time talking about this.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for coming on. Any last shout outs from you?
Shout out to my family and my supporters, because like they're dope.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Very heartfelt.
Chance, from you, any last words?
Shout out to Attach's family. Shout out to Attach's family and his followers. They're dope.
Such heartfelt shout-outs.
Fair enough. Tunn, how about you?
Same from me as always. Guys, just make sure you follow the stream. We'll be back again next Wednesday, and if there's anybody in there in the chat who wants to come on and you're obviously relevant, we'll get you in and we'll talk Call of Duty. But yeah, enjoyed that episode, and thank you all for watching.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Clearly not a fan of Attach's family, but that is all from us here at Spitfire. Of course, thank you very much. And if you do want to go watch, Attach should be streaming very, very shortly. Thank you all for